Okay, hello. We're still in chapter 13 of Romans. Praise God. The Christian's relationship to government. And I jokingly said last time that the Obama administration, a lot of people were worried at that time. I mean, really all the stuff with that, it's only grown exponentially, and the debt has only grown. It's only gotten worse in the world after his administration, but really, there's no reason to point the finger at one guy and say he did it. I think there's a lot of satanic powers controlling most of the governments of the planet. So this becomes a very difficult chapter, because the stupid liberal will say to you, well, Obama got elected and he says you should abort your babies, so I guess I better abort my babies. That's kind of a straw man, isn't it? I don't know. Basically, I don't understand how anyone like Obama could be elected, because he's a communist Satanist, although he'll present that he's Catholic. He'll say he's Catholic, and he's also several other things related to Satanism and the Baphomet and all the stuff associated with that, but I don't need to talk about Big Mike. But anyway, scary stuff though. This guy is your boss now. Like, think of me in 2009, 2010, sitting in that college classroom with my interviews and interrogation professor, Dr. Was he a doctor? Well, he was a detective. Detective Deere was his name. Trying to teach me how to... Wish I could have just gone through like court stuff, court procedure related to the... he was actually the main detective associated with the Melissa Herstrom murder in Toledo. So we got to see a lot of the evidence related to that trial, and how that guy was he was a police officer that committed the crime. Anyway, think of me in that classroom, and you hear that Obama is elected, and Detective Deere says, this is really bad, that this happened. He was ultra conservative, obviously. Every police officer is not going to vote for Obama unless they're black, and most black people will just vote for the black person regardless of if they're Satanists or not. They're black, gotta vote for them. But anyway, if you're a conservative Christian, you would be pretty concerned about a satanic evil man, as you can tell, getting into office now. So what are you going to do? What would be the biblical examples? I mean, Nebuchadnezzar, pretty evil guy, really, ruthless, kind of psychotic, but smart and powerful, but crazy at the same time. And you're Daniel talking to this guy, or Nehemiah's dealing with another weirdo. God can still use even an evil guy for something to be accomplished. I think in our case, I think Obama is a representation during 2nd Chronicles, 2nd Kings, or Jeremiah would be a first-person perspective. Basically, these are traitors in our midst, and they're handing over all the goods, all the money, all the power over to evil. and that's God's judgment on us, in my opinion. So anyway, when you're living in a situation like that, this would be my third, that was my third year of college. Here Obama got elected. It was pretty scary stuff. And then Obama got reelected. Man, it was scary times, you know. But does that mean I should go out now and start committing crimes, maybe filling up baskets of retail goods and running out the door with everything, you know, because clearly this guy that got elected wasn't elected by God. No, it says right here he was elected by God. Or maybe you can think about it in terms of Saul. Saul and David. What was Saul? Saul was the king that they deserved, really. Bunch of worldly idiots wanting a king, and he warned you. Samuel warned you, you're not going to want this king. You know, you don't want to be like everybody else and have a king. Kings are useless. You should just stick with the Moses situation, you know? That's what they should have done. Probably a lot less taxes on you, man. Come on. And you don't have to give all your kids up to be slaves in the courthouse and work for the government, as it is now. You know, half the government jobs are pointless, but you have to give over to this madman. I think a country gets exactly what they deserve at the time. Now, a lot of black people today are disappointed with not getting Kamala, even though Kamala is Indian, but they say she's black. They'll vote for her anyway. But anyway, current government. Should I be obedient to government if I did not vote for Donald Trump? I voted for Donald Trump because I thought it would give us a little more time in this country to present God to people, but I'm starting to think the whole voting process is kind of a waste of time. If I follow this chapter, really, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Maybe they're not even talking about government. What if they're talking about, like, principalities type of power? Like in Toledo, Ohio, this is like the capital of human trafficking, or one of them, human sex trafficking around here. I did my final paper in college about child sex trafficking, and this is one of the major hubs in the United States for that. So obviously there is a principality around here, some kind of high demon related to some of the most abominable sin you can imagine, you know. That's something that God really hates, is when you attack his children. And all children are God's children. They're, as far as I'm concerned, they're perfect. They're saved until the age of accountability, you know, but they get snatched away in this area because this area has highway routes everywhere. All the pirates and gangsters and all that drive around in circles and steal young people in this area, they'll stop at my store on the way and be, hey dog, can I get the cash yet? And then I need two Newport 100. And you know, they try to steal it from me because they know the cops aren't going to respond quick enough. But anyway, that actually happened to me, but not joking. Anyway, what was my point? It seems to me the higher powers in this area are related to satanic criminal activity that takes place on a spiritual level of pure evil, and then that culminates in the flesh, in the physical, in this realm, through the criminal activity of those pirates and gangsters and pedophiles and monsters in this area. It physically manifests, it's born in the spiritual, and that human beings make an agreement with this demon to perform these horrible crimes, you know. I'm just thinking about it from a different angle because I don't like thinking that I need to be obedient to some weirdo that commits all kinds of other crimes. It makes you basically hate the whole governmental system because you're paying your taxes into a system that's just promoting the satanic activity. Because where does all your taxes go? Goes into the welfare system. Then the welfare system, all those people then have sex because they have free money and they have time to go have sex, and they make more babies. Then the psycho gangster pirates come along, take the children, and then the process just continues, you know, and they're the main victim. They're the blood sacrifice that continues feeding the demon or the principality that controls Toledo, Ohio. This is kind of a weird way of looking at it, huh? Just thinking outside the box. Most people, when they read this, think, see, Alex, you need to vote for a liberal Democrat because that's the situation. God ordained Obama to be here, and he's the most holy man who's ever existed. Sorry. Wouldn't be surprised if they said something like that, you know. But yeah, I was listening to, can't think of her name, Asian lady. Very good. She was thinking about this chapter and questioning it. I question it too. I don't want. The fact is, Obama gets elected. But is it a bunch of nonsense anyway? You know, a lot of people, you know, that's why I'm discouraged about voting. I don't really see myself voting in the next election. I think my voter registration is expired anyway. So I'm thinking of not, because how does somebody like that get elected? If it is all legal, that's questionable because of all the electronics involved, all the hacking that could happen. You know, if it is ordained of God, let's look at it straightforward. What's the end game for me? How does it affect me? Do I need to start committing crimes and be in a rebellion against this guy for some reason? Or does it significantly affect me? Not significantly. During the Obama years, though, like a big thing would be that healthcare issue. Forcing everyone to take government healthcare that doesn't do anything and you have to pay for it anyway, unless you're on welfare, then you do get free healthcare. But if you actually attempt to have a job, even a bad job, and you don't, you know, it's nonsense. You know, that really did affect me. And I actually had to pay that penalty for not having insurance. Well, then you should have had insurance. Every Christian should have insurance. I spend $100,000 a year on knee surgery every year because I eat my giant carrot cake and I never mind, sorry. It's just nuts. This is all nuts. What do you think? Let's read it again. Let's just read it again and then come back to it, okay? Is this still, it just, see how it just, it makes me mad. This chapter just makes me mad because of how everybody has approached it, you know? Because I don't know, let's read it again. Chapter 13 of Romans, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another has fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore love is the fulfilling of the law, and that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying. But put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof. Okay, I read it again. I'm going to come back and tell you what I think.